And welcome to the grand opening of the Creekwalk from Armory Square to Onondaga Lake. My name is Andrew Maxwell. I'm director of the city's Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. Thanks to all of you for coming out on this beautiful autumn morning. For any of you who joined us for the groundbreaking late in 2009, I think we did a little bit better with the weather today. A little cold and snowy for our groundbreaking, so thank you for coming out this morning. The Creekwalk is a 2.6-mile walking, jogging, biking, and wheeling path through the city of Syracuse. The work that we're marking the completion of today will connect and extend existing portions of the Creekwalk, and the total project cost represents an investment of just more than $10 million. This has been a highly collaborative project, and the speakers that you hear from this morning will certainly reflect that level of collaboration and community leadership. Our first speaker is someone who has been very passionate about seeing this project through to completion. That's Mayor Stephanie Miner. Mayor?
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you all very much for coming. What a fantastic way to celebrate a project that all of us in this community have thought in our hopes and in our prayers would come to fruition. And today I'm just fortunate enough to be mayor as we bring a huge milestone. While this concept is decades old, this phase of the project has been several years in the making. We believe in the city of Syracuse and in our region, one of our most inherent strengths is the strengths of our neighborhood and the people that live here. And by connecting strong neighborhoods in our city and bringing people the ability to see our city from different vantage points, that we can grow together and connect together. So we also wanted to make sure that we changed the way that we had traditionally seen the waterfront in our community. And of course, the person who made the first and the biggest change in how we viewed the waterfront in the community is somebody who is rumored to have been a friend of mine, and I'm here to actually confirm that yes, the county executive is indeed a friend of mine. It was with the county executive's leadership looking at Onondaga Lake and Onondaga Creek as an asset and saying that we could take our money and use it to invest in green infrastructure and use this as a place to think about our past and our future and to enjoy rather than as a conduit for our floatables. We believe that this project will be transformative and a driver of economic development in the urban core and throughout our region, and in cooperation with all of the green infrastructure improvements that the county is doing, will indeed make this a unique recreational, environmental, cultural, and economic activity. We have seen other cities in the United States that have used their waterfronts and have used them as complete and total conduits to talk about celebrating neighborhoods and cities and regions. And we are fortunate enough to have had the kind of leadership that put in the time and the money and the vision in order to do that. So with any great project, there is never one or two people involved that make it happen. Instead, as you can see here today with everybody who is here celebrating, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people to thank and who had a place and made sure that this happened. So while I will not thank hundreds or thousands, I am going to take some time out to thank more than a few people without whom, without their passion and their commitment, today would not have been possible. Let me start where I always start, which is thanking the hardworking city employees, our city's engineering department, Mary Roveson, John Kivelhand, and Steve Nan. And of course, our own Andrew Maxwell, who is the MC today. Let me also thank our contractors, our project manager, which was CNS Companies. We asked Mac to be here today. Thank you. M.A. Bongiovanni, Atlas Fence, Ballard Construction, City Electric, Davis Wallbridge, EJ Construction, Elderly Incorporated, Environmental Paving Systems, FMG Enterprises, Geneva Curbing and Concrete, Henry McConnell Concrete Floors, Highlight Markings, Jamesville Environmental, Pavilion Drainage, Raleigh & Sons, Syracuse Signal Systems, Watson Farms. So you can see just from the list of our contractors, this was no small feat, no small undertaking. And of course, the Syracuse Common Council, which has always also had a role in making sure that this stayed a #1 priority of the city, and the Federal Highway Administration, New York State DOT, and New York State DEC. I also already talked about the leadership the Onondaga County and the County Executive brought to this project. The Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board, the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council, the Downtown Committee of Syracuse, and the Armory Square Association. We also would be remiss, and as mayor, I never say thank you without also telling people that we're going to be coming back for more. So just because you've gotten your thanks today, do not think it's over with. We're going to be coming back to more to work on improvements and also ask for maintenance. So I want to also, of course, I see Greg Tripoli here, thank the Onondaga Historical Association for working with us on this, as well as the Central New York Community Foundation. I will leave you with this thought, that with any great project, there are lots of committed people who get together and make sure that it happens. And this project is one such project where we all had a role, and we can all celebrate what we think is so fantastic about Syracuse and Onondaga County, and that is having a pedestrian-friendly environment where strangers can come together and enjoy the beautiful environment that we have, that is also made possible and made better through the county executive's leadership. So with that, let me introduce the county executive, Joni Mahoney.
Thank you. Good morning. This is just a terrific day, and I'm so excited to be here. I can remember the first time that I was on the Creekwalk. I think I was back in law school, and you saw how beautiful it could be to be alongside the water. And then for decades, we've tried to continue the project. And I want to thank the long list led by Mac from CNS Companies that the mayor thanked, and I want to thank the great team in Onondaga County. I had an opportunity to sit with some folks the other day who talked about the fact that this move that we've made toward a more balanced approach rather than just the gray infrastructure, where now we're using the green components as well, has really energized this community. We are leading the way, and I don't mean just Onondaga County government, but I mean the people who live here. Everybody who's had an opportunity to touch a project like this has been really inspired by the opportunity to think big and be creative and do things that we haven't done before, and it was inspiring to listen to that group of people who were asked to just think about things differently. Instead of a problem, can we look at this as an opportunity, and can we all come together? And I see BJ Adigan here. BJ has done a terrific job on behalf of the county. He is not a county employee, but an employee of CH2M Hill, who's been a great partner in our green infrastructure program. Matt Millay and the folks at WEP and all of the county employees, people are really inspired by the feedback we're getting from all of you about the projects that we are doing. But I want to tell you, and maybe some of you have heard this before, this absolutely is not possible without the partnership that we have with the city of Syracuse. When we went back to the federal court to ask if we could move away from building sewage treatment plants and instead move to a more environmentally friendly green infrastructure program, one of the obstacles that we faced in front of the federal judge was how, when the problem is inside the city of Syracuse and the county doesn't have control, can you assure that these green infrastructure components will be implemented? And it was because we could say that we had the partnership that we have with the city that we allayed the concerns of the federal court, and they took that giant leap of faith with us and moved away from the consent order requiring sewage treatment plants to now having green infrastructure as a component. So people say all the time it's not possible without someone. It literally is not possible for the county to do the things that we're doing without a terrific working partnership with the city of Syracuse, and it's all day, every day. It's not just big events like this, but we, the staffs, the city employees, the county employees, work side by side in a way that I've never seen before, and I really appreciate the people on the county side and the people on the city side for coming together. That is to be applauded, and I would be remiss. I appreciate that the mayor has finally outed herself. She is a friend of mine. But I would be remiss without pointing out that it's with this tremendous leadership that the mayor has shown, and the Common Council. And I know that I see Marty Masterful here. I don't know if there's other members of the county legislature here, but the county legislature had to go along with this too. The funding that's in place for our green infrastructure program was passed by the Onondaga County Legislature, who sees a brighter future for us with this path, and my hat's off to the county legislature as well, and Senator Valesky, who has been there for every request that we've made. Thank you very much. I'm just so happy to be part of this. It's a day like today that I really love my job. I love this community. I'm so happy to be part of a community that wants to do things like this. Thank you.
Our next speaker is someone who has been a strong leader right here in this neighborhood and can talk a bit about the impacts of the Creekwalk project right here in downtown Syracuse. And that's Armory Square Association President Tony Ortega. Tony?
The Creekwalk's a perfect addition to Armory Square. Our residents are going to enjoy the scenic beauty of the bicycle and the pedestrian paths which travel through downtown all the way to the southern shores of Onondaga Lake. The Creekwalk's all about connecting our neighborhoods while highlighting our scenic waterfront. It's easily accessible, and it provides area guests comfortable walking paths to the best shopping and dining experiences right here in Armory Square. I think it's perfect that the Creekwalk ends in a beautiful park near the entrance to the Most, Armory Square's magnet tourist attraction. Because the Creekwalk, like the Most, is another good reason to come visit Armory Square. On behalf of the Armory Square Association, I'd like to offer my congratulations to Mayor Minor, County Executive Mahoney, and all of the CNS and M.A. Bon Giovanni employees that helped create this special place, which is another shining example of our vibrant downtown Syracuse. Thank you.
I think that we all know that a project of this magnitude can only be successful with a broad partnership with the private sector, and I think that's reflected in the mayor's long list of contractors and others that were a part of the success of the Creekwalk project. Someone who I think can reflect on that further is our final speaker for this morning, Orrin MacMurray, chairman of CNS Companies, who acted as project manager for the Creekwalk. Mac.
I must have looked at an old memo in dressing this morning, because I guess I'm more ready for the groundbreaking than the grand opening. But thank you all for being here this morning to celebrate this great achievement. You know, what we see here in Celebrate this morning is the result of over a decade of hard work by hundreds, if not thousands of people, as the mayor said. But it's really a result of over 50 years of vision. The creek development started in 1910 when the Army Corps of Engineers built a flood control project, much of what we can still see today. In the mid-60s, a gentleman by the name of Jim Heath, who was then the Parks Commissioner for the city of Syracuse, had a vision. And his vision was to create a corridor, a walk, a park, if you will, a linear park as they're called, along the creek, and to connect Nedrow with Onondaga. That vision, which started then, is alive and well today. There was a young landscape architect who worked for Mr. Heath. His name was Steve Buechner. Steve would ultimately start a firm called Ryman Buechner with Bob Ryman, a professor at ESF. And they developed in this community one of the premier landscape architecture firms that we've had the privilege to have in our region. Well, Steve kind of adopted that vision and took it to his own. In the 90s, studies were undertaken, and Steve participated in those. Parts of the Creekwalk were developed in Franklin Square and in the Inner Harbor. And in 2000, the project that we're here to celebrate today really began in earnest. So it's a result of years of city leadership and vision, and it complements our history as well. For the first time, maybe in some respects, the citizens of our community, as we walk this walk, will be able to see the Washington Street, Genesee Street, and Erie Boulevard arches. These are landmarks that have long been buried, but are part of the history of our community. The city and the team dealt with over half a dozen agencies, as the mayor alluded to, and well over a half dozen community organizations, developers, and other interested parties and groups. This project, from the Corps of Engineers to CSX Railroad, from the most all the way to Onondaga Lake, truly touches all of us in our community in a special way. It's a great success, and it supports our regional focus on green infrastructure and sustainability in an important and unique way. The dollars that have been spent here, some might say, well, why did we spend them? I asked them to walk this walk and enjoy what's been created here for all our citizens. It's worth every penny and more. And it's beautiful. You know, it's important to create things that are not just valuable and work for us, but that also stimulate us. From its landscaping and its structures, which have all been designed and built with a human scale in mind. I think as you walk the walk, you'll find that you're a part of the walk. It doesn't overpower you. It's not overbearing. The benches, the bike racks, the lamp posts are all sensitive to the setting and sensitive to our citizens in our community. The green elements, like the porous pavement that you see next to you here, won't let the water just run away. The water will actually seep into the ground. In fact, as part of our county executives program referred to as Save the Rain, we are truly saving the rain on this project. And solar-powered crosswalk flashers, something that might be a minor addition to many, but is a green and sustainable piece of our infrastructure that will save the city operating costs for years to come. You heard many thanks earlier. I'll repeat a couple. But first of all, to our mayor for her outstanding leadership. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to the City Council. And thanks to the mayors and the city councils over the last decade or 2 or 3, or you could say even 5, that have helped keep this vision and this dream alive for our community. Thanks to the designers, to Chuck Stanton and Mike Gridley from CNS, who led this project along with Paul Byrne, an outstanding job from them. Thanks to Steve Buechner, who I mentioned earlier. Thanks to Steve for his passion and his continual belief over literally decades that someday we could have this great facility. Thanks to the City Engineering Department, Mary was acknowledged by the mayor earlier. We are very privileged and proud of the folks that we have in community service here in our engineering community working with the city, and to the construction inspection team. And as was mentioned, to M.A. Bongiovanni and the 14 subcontractors whose work we see in front of us. And yes, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't thank the hundreds of craftspeople who brought their tools every day and went to work out here and created physically what we see in front of us. So this phase is done. Don't forget the vision. There's more to come. This creek walk is a unique urban recreational corridor that we all can be proud of. Some of our city's most iconic architecture, buildings, and historic structures are showcased on this pathway that from now on we'll refer to as the Syracuse Creek Walk. So on behalf of all of us involved, we're proud to have been a part of it. Thank you very much.
I want to say one last thank you to all of our state and federal representatives who are a part of this. Senator Valesky, who's here, and others. Thank you so much for your partnership. This truly would not be possible. At this time, we'll take a few questions from media, after which we'll have members of Focus CNY Pathways and Pedals to Possibilities biking groups travel from here in Armory Square out to the Onondaga Lakeshore on the Creek Walk as kind of an inaugural ride for the project. Well, we at the city will have a project that we're doing as part of a state program called the Local Waterfront Revitalization Program. And we'll be looking over the next year at things that we can do from a design perspective along the creek through the entire length of the creek in the city. That's right. Phase 2 would be from here to Kirk Park, and Phase 3 would be from Kirk Park on down to the city line. Thanks so much to everyone for coming.